It was almost midnight when Greg turned onto the old country road. The streets were empty, dark, and silent, just the way he liked them after a long day at work. His headlights cut through the fog, and that's when he saw her. A young woman stood near the edge of the road, her arms wrapped around herself, tears streaming down her face. Her car sat a few feet away, the hood open like it had given up. She waved at him, begging for help. Greg slowed down. For a second he almost stopped, but something in the back of his mind whispered, "Don't do it. What if it's a trap?" So he kept driving. Her face burned into his memory, her eyes wide with fear. Later that night, he turned on the news, and froze. That same face was staring back at him from the screen. Greg lived in a small town where everyone knew each other. Most nights were quiet, and the streets were safe, or so he thought. It was a chilly autumn evening, the kind where the air feels sharp, and the fog rolls in low, wrapping everything in a soft, cold blanket. Greg worked at the local factory, often pulling late shifts that left him drained and eager to get home. His car was old but reliable, and the drive from work to his small house on the edge of town took about 20 minutes. That night, he was tired. His mind wandered as he drove, thinking about his daughter Lily, who was sleeping soundly in her bed. He wanted nothing more than to get home, eat something warm and rest. The road ahead was nearly empty, only a few houses scattered here and there, their windows dark. The street lights flickered on and off, and the fog made it hard to see past a few feet. Everything was still, except for the sound of his car engine humming softly. It was just another ordinary night, or so he thought. As Greg rounded a bend in the road, his headlights caught a figure standing by the side. It was a woman. She looked young, maybe in her early 20s, and she was crying. Her shoulders shook, as if she had been crying for a long time. Her car sat a little ahead with the hood up, smoke rising gently into the cold air. She waved her hands, desperate for help. Greg's heart raced. He slowed down but kept his hands tight on the wheel. His mind spun with doubts. What if it's a trick? What if someone's hiding nearby? He'd heard stories about people getting robbed or worse when they stopped for strangers at night. He looked at her face again, so scared, so helpless, and yet something didn't feel right. A cold shiver ran down his spine. "Sorry," he whispered to himself, pressing the gas pedal. The woman's eyes followed him in his rearview mirror, filled with hope that quickly turned to despair. Greg's stomach twisted. He wanted to turn back but couldn't. He told himself he was doing what was safe for him and his daughter, but as he drove away, the image of her face stayed with him. Something wasn't right. When Greg got home, the house felt quieter than usual. The lights were low, and the smell of dinner didn't reach the kitchen. He sat at the table, eating a simple meal alone. His mind kept drifting back to the woman on the road. He told himself he had done the right thing. There was no way to know if she was really in trouble, or if stopping would have put him in danger. He had a daughter to protect, and sometimes, being safe meant saying no. Still, a small voice inside him whispered that he could have done more. He pictured her face over and over, her tear-streaked cheeks, the way she clutched her arms like she was freezing, not just from the cold but from fear. Greg's sister called him later that night. She was a nurse and often listened to his worries. "Why don't you just forget about it?" she said. "You didn't know what was going on." But Greg couldn't. He replayed every second, wishing he'd found the courage to stop. What if she was really scared? What if she was trapped somewhere, needing help? The guilt settled heavy on his chest, like a stone he couldn't lift. He tried to sleep but tossed and turned, haunted by the memory of her face. Later that night, Greg sat on his worn-out couch, flipping through channels to find something to take his mind off the woman. Then the local news came on. The anchor's voice was serious and urgent. "There's been a shocking development in the case of a young woman found injured in the woods just outside of town. Authorities say she had been missing for 3 days before being discovered early this morning." Greg's heart stopped when the screen showed a photo of the woman from the road. It was the same face he had seen just hours ago. The same eyes, the same tears. The news said her name was Maya. She had escaped from a dangerous situation. Something about a man holding her captive nearby. She had walked for miles, looking for help, until she collapsed. Greg watched as the reporter described how Maya had managed to survive, despite everything. Her story was heartbreaking. She had been alone, scared, and desperate. Greg felt frozen, his mind raced, filled with regret and fear. What if I had stopped? Could I have saved her sooner? The weight of the moment crushed him. He sat there, silent, the room suddenly feeling colder. After watching the news, Greg couldn't shake the heavy feeling inside him. The image of Maya's tearful face haunted him. He kept replaying the moment on the road, wondering if he could have done something different. Sleep wouldn't come that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her standing there, scared and alone. The next morning, Greg called his sister, hoping to clear his mind. She was working at the hospital, and had heard about Maya's case. "She's lucky to be alive," she told him gently. "Not everyone makes it out." Greg felt a sharp pang of guilt. He wished he had been braver, wished he had stopped to help, but he also knew fear had held him back. It wasn't easy to trust strangers, especially when your own family depends on you. He thought about his daughter Lily again. If she had been in Maya's place, would someone have stopped for her? Greg's heart ached. He realized that fear had cost a woman her chance at safety. For days, Greg couldn't focus on anything else. At work, at home, his mind kept drifting back to the girl on the road. He wanted to do something, anything, to make up for what he hadn't done. A few days after the news report, more details about Maya's story began to come out. The town was talking about what had really happened on that dark road. Maya had shared her story from the hospital bed. She described how, just before she collapsed, a man in a car had stopped near her. He didn't get out or offer much help, but his presence scared off someone who had been following her. That man, the one who stopped, had saved her life. Greg sat in disbelief. Could it be possible? Had he been the man who scared away her captor without even realizing it? The thought hit him hard. Even though he hadn't stopped to help, his brief pause had made a difference. Maya's courage to speak out brought a wave of hope to the town. And Greg felt a strange mix of relief and shame. He hadn't been a hero in the way he wished, but somehow, his small action had helped. Still, Greg knew he couldn't rely on luck or chance. He wanted to be better, to face his fears. To be someone who helped, not just watched and drove away. After everything that happened, Greg decided to make a change. He wrote a letter, not to the news, not to the police, but to Maya's family. He didn't sign it. In the letter, he said he was sorry for not stopping that night, and wished he had been braver. But he also said he was glad she was safe. Greg started volunteering at a local crisis center. He wanted to help people who were scared and alone, like Maya had been. He learned that sometimes, even small actions matter. Sometimes, just stopping for a moment can change everything. Greg's story reminds us all that fear can hold us back, but kindness and courage can push us forward. And even when we think we've done nothing, sometimes, we've helped more than we know.